Good morning, everyone. This is my next part on how to take advantage on a small positional advantage. Okay, this is a position. Say, material wise, both the players are equal, but black is slightly better. Let's see. Okay, fine. Let us compare the pieces now. See, the white is having a good bishop and even a good knight, but these pawns are little. These pawns has doubled, isolated, doubled pawns, not isolated. So how to take advantage on this type of positions? First of all, we'll analyze what is the advantage of black and white. Okay, see, black has a connected passed pawns, very strong on both sides, whereas white have a good moment of pieces and a semi-open file, where black also have a semi-open file. And black bishop is little passive right now, whereas knight can jump to g6 or f5 or even d5 at some point. Okay, so for example, now see, uh, now what is black going to do, white going to do now. Let me turn the board for you. Okay, now see from black side what black is going to do. What white is planning. Now white is planning to play a4, a4, and after a4 there is no b5, so he can fix the knight on c4. Later he can open the rook file, and black really don't have any advantage. So after a4, if black plays a5, then b6 will be a tremendous weakness, and white can easily play on b6. And after a4 also, this knight c4 is a very good post. So white is threatening a4 and neutralize the position. And from black point of view, black really don't have a bad bishop. So for that, try not to give this bishop and try to activate this bishop so as that stopping a4 and all the counters of black. Okay, pause this portion and think what is the move. And okay, I hope you all got the move. Yes, that is bishop a4, a very good move, preventing all the counter chances of black and opening up this rook and preventing a4, knight c5, and also even attacking the c2 pawn. Bishop a4 is a good move. Now let's see how a small advantage will be converted into a win. Okay, after bishop e2 there is no way of supporting this pawn, so he played rook e2. Why? Because rook c1 is terribly bad. There is no scope for this rook, so he's played rook e2, threatening idea with the idea of rook doubling on the e file. So he played nd5, which is a very good and logical continuation, where now c3 is not supported. After c4 there is no knight c4, and this knight will jump to c3 or even can come back to f6. Later will after transition to d4. So after c4, knight b4, black is very comfortable in playing this position. Okay, so he played bishop into d5, e into d5, rook a1, taking control on the open file. So he pinned the piece rook e8 and f4, supporting the knight, and f6 and knight f3. See, this is going to be an end game where white will have a knight and black will have a bishop, but hardly a few players can see the advantage of these pawns and this pawn, the pawn on c2, c3 and a3, and how to activate this bishop. So king f7. Why? Because after taking rook e2 you lose a tempo. Rook e2, rook e2, king f7 and rook e8 loses a tempo. So king f7, king f2, rook e2, rook e2, rook e8, rook e8, king e8, and knight e1. Now king e7, king e3, king e6. Okay, now we got the position where white trying to prevent the entry of king, and whereas black is trying to open d4 at one point, try to activate this bishop later and control all the squares of white knight movement. Okay, now knight is fixed on e1 of because of c2. So for stopping king f5 he played g4, and king d6, h3 and g6. This g4, I think what he played is a mistake, because he cannot open g5. Instead, if he opens g5 then king will be entered. If we can't open g5 then the point of h3, these two pawns on g4 and h3 will be a tremendous weakness after bishop d7 and h5. So he played king d6, h3, g6 and king d2, bishop d7. Now it's threatening h5 and try to enter the king. So knight f3 and king e7, king e3 and h5. Okay, after h5, knight h2. Why? Because if he plays g into h5, g into h5, for example gh5, gh5 and h4 is forced, and king e6 cannot prevent the entry on g4. So white doesn't want to play that, so he played knight h2 and king d6, a good move, where black is like a jujwang, don't really have a good move to play in this position. If he opens with c4, dc4 is losing. If he opens with c4, dc4 is a very bad, where you have doubled isolated pawns. So black don't have that option. He cannot move this knight, or he cannot move this pawn even. a4 directly loses the pawn, whereas a3 gives black a passed pawn with d4 later. After d4, cd4, not now, but after d4, cd4, cd4, and after maybe king d2 or something, he'll play a5, a4, then b5, b4 gives a pawn, passed pawn. So this is a position where white almost are problem. So he played king e2 and d4 opens up this bishop, this diagonal for bishop, and after few moves bishop c6 and bishop d5 gives pawn to a3, and later a5, a4 and b5, b4 gives a4 pawn, a passed pawn, which is more than sufficient to win the game. So he cannot leave the pawn now, because after d into c3 black will definitely get a passed pawn after a5, a4 and b4 and bishop e6. So this knight on a2 doesn't have anything, so he plays c into d4, and king d2. Now white took hg4, and bishop c6. now not preventing knight to come to c6. Now see f3, sorry. After king e2, king d, bishop d5, forcing the pawn to a3. Now b5, stopping the pawn to a4 or a5, with the idea of a5, a4 and b4, creating a very strong passed pawn on a4. So here he played knight f1 and a5, knight d2 and a4. This position, I think white is clearly better, and there is no way of stopping b4, and this a4 pawn will be a queen. If knight b1 is very worst, because this knight is now fixed and now black can open with g5 and king enters to e5, f4, and if king f3, bishop a2 to bishop b1 maybe, or bishop a2 b4 will be unstoppable. So he played knight e4 check, bishop e4, d e4 and b4 with a clear advantage for black. After king d2, b into a3, king c1 and g5 creates the entry and loses all the white pawns. So this is a good example of how to take advantage of a slight positional advantage. Hope you enjoy the example. So let's see in the next class.